So, this is kind of embarrassing. I actually forgot what I was about to talk about. Oh yeah. Now I all of a sudden remember. I don't know why, but I have this goldfish memory sometimes. I know exactly what to talk about when I start recording, and then I instantly forget it the minute I hit the record button. I don't know what that is. Anyway, so I watched this inflammatory and gaslighting, and quite frankly, I hope so, misleading headline. Now, the article that the headline was referencing to was behind a paywall, so I couldn't read the full article. So maybe I'm the victim of a misleading headline, and that's fair. But anyway, let's just talk about the headline because it was so daft and so stupid and so very, very wrong for so many reasons. And I'm very qualified to talk about that. Here's what the headline said, essentially, because I'm translating from my native language into English. Losing weight and getting rich doesn't necessarily make you happy. Or losing weight and getting rich doesn't make you happy. That's the biggest crock of shite I've ever heard in quite a while. Really? Are you telling me that losing weight, if you're fat, obese, morbidly obese, and on the verge of getting type 2 diabetes and potential cancer and other cardiovascular diseases, that losing that extra fat doesn't make you happy? Are you telling me that you're better off developing sweat stains in your armpits, on your chest, and on your back, so much so that you can't even wear a sweater inside a room because you start sweating? Are you saying that fat belly, that paunch of yours, makes you happy when your pants don't even fit? You know the proverbial story about the suit in the... Maybe this is just a native expression. I don't really know. I don't know if this expression exists in English, but the metaphor surely makes sense. There's a saying, something along the lines of the suit in the cupboard or the suit in your locker that shrinks with every year, right? It mysteriously shrinks with every year. And the truth is, of course, it doesn't shrink. You're just getting fatter because you don't want to train and work out and maintain your health. Now, I said that I was very, very qualified to talk about this, which I am because I used to be morbidly obese myself. I've talked about this before. I don't mind talking about it again because it's such an important point and everybody ought to listen about it, especially now in this day and age where they're even introducing something retarded as fat studies at a local university in my country, where people are supposed to learn about the fat and all the struggles they face and somehow shift the blame not to the fat for being lazy and not taking care of themselves, but by the misunderstanding and I don't really know what kind of excuses they make really about the probably homophobia, whatever. They're just throwing homophobia and racism and sexism in there when that's got nothing to do with the case. The case is you're fat and you're supposed to lose your weight. You have to lose your weight because it's unhealthy if you don't. Regardless. I used to be fat myself. I'm 5'11", 180 centimeters. If you're in Europe, if you're using the metric system, I used to weigh a whopping 260 pounds or 120 kilograms. That's a lot. I literally was shaped like a barrel. You know, a barrel, or better, an onion. I was fat, really, really fat. And of course, I made all the regular excuses in the world for why I was fat. Oh, I've always been big. I'm just big boned. I'm just a little bit wide and that's natural, etc., etc. All the kind of nonsense, which of course was just horseshit, really. The fact was I was eating unhealthy. I was especially eating a lot of processed foods, lots of pasta, lots of processed carbohydrates, lots of fine-grained bread, or bread in general, lots of sugar, all that kind of crap, which of course is unhealthy. And I would easily go on binges several times a week. Of course, that's going to add up over time, right? Anyway, That's not the point. The point is, when I realized that I was fat, and after the doctor at a very, very random physical examination told me that, look, your blood pressure is increasing, your waistline is, I don't know, 3 or 4 levels above the recommended average, and you're on the verge of being morbidly obese. Your weight is skyrocketing, not rocketing, but rocketing. You're at 260 pounds. And, you could potentially develop type 2 diabetes or, in the worst case, cancer. I'm not sure what she said, but effectively she told me that I needed to lose the weight. That didn't make me happy. It really didn't. So I implemented some changes. I started doing intermittent fasting. And this past January, I've been doing intermittent fasting, essentially skipping the breakfast every single day, pretty much every single day, for 8 years. Believe it or not. Since 2018. Back in 2018, when there were hardly any social media influencers or, I don't know, so news media writings about intermittent fasting. I think I read about it in some blog somewhere or some old school forum, actually. Just happened to read it. Anyway, so I lost a lot of weight. Now I walk around at a lean and slim, usually, let me think out loud, 78, 79 kilograms, which is 170 pounds, I think, maybe, give or take. And that makes me happy, knowing that I'm healthy. Very, very happy. So that article is wrong. Number 2, there was a time, I'm not going to go into the details because it's such a long-winded discussion, really, and maybe at some later time when I do have more, when I have more time, literally. I have time now, but I didn't plan to allocate the time of this video to my background. Maybe I'll do so later. Anyway, I've been poor and broke. I know what it's like. There was a time when I had to choose between buying food or gasoline for my car, or diesel, whatever, but it doesn't really matter. I either had to load up the fuel tank in my car or I had to load up my stomach. That's not very fun. That's not cool. That didn't make me happy. Oh, and let's not talk about all the other expenses I had going on. Rent, paying off 3 different loans, I think it was at the time. A potential lawyer case that fortunately didn't escalate. Childcare, etc., etc. Power bill, heating bill, gas bill, you name it. Every single thing. And I mean everything, every single thing. And of course my car that would routinely break down and I needed to get it fixed at the mechanic, etc., etc. Not very fun. It certainly didn't make me happy. Nowadays, I'm in a much better place financially. And so that makes me happy, knowing that I have legitimate peace of mind, that I can tackle any or most unforeseen expenses. Because back then, when I had to choose between gasoline for my car and food, I literally couldn't afford like $100 unexpected bill. Even that was a big ask. Literally. That wasn't fun. That wasn't cool. It certainly didn't make me happy. And it makes me happy knowing that I've lost weight and that I've strengthened my financial situation. That makes me happy. So the article is wrong. And that, of course, applies to you. Now, here's what I do think this article really is about. Because they were quoting some sort of psychologist, and there was a photo of a dude who probably was the psychologist. The guy just looked miserable. Really miserable. He looked slim and bored and sad. Whatever. He looked like the kind of person I would have stayed away from. Really. And money for money's sake corrupts. That's fine. Money is a tool. You're using money to buy yourself happiness. As in, And yes, I'm going to say that again. You're using money to buy yourself happiness by buying the more expensive food that's healthier, by paying for a better house in a much safer place, by paying for a better car, by paying for better service at the hospital, etc., by paying for flying out your friend so that you can spend time with him if he's living on the other side of the globe. Let's say your best friend lives in Australia and you're in my country, you're in Norway. We're on the polar opposite parts of the world. And it's not, and visiting to and fro ain't that easy. What if you had all the money in the world that you could pay for his flight or her flight, pay for her stay, pay for the loss in revenue if he or she had to quit their job just to come see you, etc., etc.? That wouldn't make you happy, right? Or how about you go visit them in Australia? Think about it. That would have made you happy. And so that's why money is important, and having your financial situation in order is important, and also why you should learn persuasion to sell more, to make more money. And that'll be it for this video. If you want to learn more about persuasion for business and sales and entrepreneurship, get subscribed to my email list. The link to do so is in the episode description wherever you're watching and or listening to this, and I'll see you there.